So, as concerns the situation, we still consider that overall, the situation at the Fukushima Daiichi plant remains very serious, but that there are early signs of recovery in some functions such as electrical power and instrumentation. We can confirm that the Nuclear and Industrial Safety Agency, NISA, has submitted a provisional International Nuclear and Radiological Event Scale, INES, level 7 rating for the accident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. This new provisional rating considers the accidents that occurred at units 1, 2, and 3 as a single event on INES and uses estimated total release to the atmosphere as a justification of the new rating. Previously, provisional INES level 5 ratings had been applied separately for units 1, 2, and 3. And the Japanese authorities have notified the IAEA in advance of the public announcement and of the formal submission of the new provisional rating. The provisional rating was determined by NISA after it received the results of the analysis conducted by the Japan Nuclear Energy Safety Organization, JNS. And NISA then applied the INES assessment methodology to calculate the total estimated release in terms of radiological equivalence to iodine 131. Based on this provisional assessment, NISA concluded that the accident would be provisionally rated INES level 7 as per the definition below, taken from the INES Users Manual 2008 edition. And I quote, level 7, an event resulting in an environmental release corresponding to a quantity of radioactivity radiologically equivalent to a release to the atmosphere of more than several tens of thousands of terabecquerels of iodine 138. NISA estimates that the release of radioactive material to the atmosphere is approximately 10% of the Chernobyl accident, which is the only other accident to have an INES level 7 rating. And I can mention that there will be available at the exit sheets about INES. Now, as you know, we can confirm also that an earthquake occurred in Japan at 8 hours and 16 minutes UTC on the 11th of April. And the IAEA International Seismic Safety Center rated it as a 6.6 magnitude, revised from an initial 7.1. The epicenter of the earthquake was in Fukushima Prefecture, 68 kilometers from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. And the epicenter was inland and at a depth of 13 kilometers. The IAEA contacted NISA, who confirmed the following regarding the status of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. That is, no changes were observed on the readings at the on-site radiation monitoring posts. Workers were temporarily evacuated to the seismic evacuation shelter. Off-site power was lost and water injection pumps for units 1, 2, and 3 stopped, but were restarted 50 minutes after the earthquake. And the injection of nitrogen into Unit 1 stopped also, but resumed later. As concerns the plant status, and more information will be detailed by Miro later, in Unit 1, fresh water is being continuously injected into the reactor pressure vessel through the feedwater line at a flow rate of 6 cubic meters per hour, using a temporary electric pump with off-site power. And in Units 2 and 3, fresh water is being continuously injected through the fire extinguisher lines at an indicated rate of 7 cubic meters per hour, using temporary electric ponds with off-site power. And nitrogen gas is being injected into the Unit 1 containment vessel to reduce the possibility of hydrogen combustion within the containment vessel. Apart from that, well, there has been no change in status in Units 4, 5, and 6, and the common spent fuel storage facility. As concerns radiation monitoring, on 11th April, deposition of both iodine-131 and cesium-137 was detected in 6 and 8 prefectures respectively. The values reported for iodine-131 ranged from 2.1 to 35 becquerels per square meter, and for cesium-137 from 5.2 to 41 becquerels per square meter. The gamma dose rates are measured daily in all 47 prefectures of Japan, and the values tend to decrease. For Fukushima, on 11th April, a dose rate of 2.1 microsievert per hour. For the Ibaraki prefecture, a gamma dose rate of 0.15 microsievert per hour were reported. The gamma dose rates in all other prefectures were below 0.1 microsievert per hour. And those rates are also reported specifically for the eastern part of the Fukushima prefecture, for distances of more than 30 kilometers to Fukushima Daiichi. And on 11th April, the values in this area range from 0.2 to 25 microsievert per hour. In an additional mixed monitoring program, on 11th April, measurements were reported for 25 cities out of 13 prefectures. And in Fukushima City, a value of 0.42 microsievert per hour was observed. In all other cities, gamma dose rates ranged from 0.04 to 0.13 microsievert per hour, while typical normal background levels are in the range of 0.05 to 0.1 microsievert per hour. On 11th April, the IAEA team made measurements at 9 different locations in the Fukushima area at distances of 30 to 58 kilometers, west to northwest from the Fukushima nuclear power plant. At these locations, the dose rates ranged from 0.1 to 2.2 microsievert per hour. And at the same locations, results of beta-gamma contamination measurements ranged from 0.01 to 0.28 megabecquerels per square meter. Analytical results now related to food contamination were reported by the Japanese Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare on 11th April and covered a total of 21 samples taken on the 8th and 10th to 11th of April. Analytical results for all of the samples of various vegetables, fruit, various meats, seafood, and unprocessed raw milk in 8 prefectures indicated that iodine-131, cesium-134, and or cesium-137 were either not detected or were below the regulation values set by the Japanese authorities. As concerns marine monitoring, there are basically 2 programs. One is a TEPCO monitoring program for seawater at a number of near-shore and offshore monitoring locations. And until the 3rd of April, a general decreasing trend was observed at samples points TEPCO 1 to TEPCO 4. And you will see on the map later these points. And after the discharge of contaminated water on 4th of April, a temporary increase had been reported, followed by a further decrease. And on the 12th of April, we have no new data for TEPCO 1 to 10 sampling points. And as concerns the next offshore monitoring program, also, we have no new data. But there are now 10, 12, about, yeah, I think about 12 monitoring points, but again, you will see that on the map. And I'll finish by the IAEA activities. The team of 3 agency experts in BWR technology and safety is due back in Vienna today, so they are probably flying at the time I'm speaking. And I want to mention also that in addition to countries that have already been identified in previous briefs, the Philippines and the Republic of Korea have also provided monitoring data and/or links to their websites. I would like also to add some words about the evacuation that you may have heard in the press. And this is something we have shared and agreed with the Japanese permanent mission, that on 11th of April, the government of Japan announced that they had concluded to establish planned evacuation areas and evacuation prepared area in the areas beyond the 20-kilometer radius from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. The review was conducted because the Japanese government considered the safety of residents its first priority. The government of Japan considered the standards recommended by the ICRP, International Commission on Radiological Protection, and the IAEA as part of the review. As concerns the planned evacuation areas, the Japanese authorities have found that the areas beyond 20-kilometer radius could be exposed to over 20 millisievert during the course of the next year, approximately until next March. And therefore, the government of Japan will be consulting with the local communities in terms of planned evacuations. And at this juncture, they are hoping that this planned evacuation will be carried out during the next months to come. The planned evacuation areas that have been newly designated for evacuation include Kutsurao village, Naimi town, Iitate village, a part of Kawamata town, and a part of Minami Suma city. The Japanese government also defined a second new area called the evacuation prepared area. This area includes the area previously defined as the indoor evacuation area between 20 and 30 kilometers from Fukushima Daiichi, but excludes those areas designated above as planned evacuation areas. Within the evacuation prepared area, people living in this area should be prepared for indoor evacuation or evacuation outside of this area in case of emergency. Voluntary evacuation is recommended by the Japanese government within this area. Children, pregnant women, people who require nursing care, and those who are hospitalized should not enter this area. Kindergartens, preschools, elementary schools, junior high schools, and high school will be closed within this area.